Here's more wrestling news for January 7th, 2022. And we're starting off today with Smackdown, and after months of him being arguably the best thing in WWE, it should come as no surprise to hear that Sami Zayn was a highlight of last night's show. For the first time in forever, Roman Reigns seemed shaken, no doubt angry about his and Zayn's loss to John Cena and Kevin Owens last week, and questioned why Zayn would guarantee a victory he didn't deliver. Reigns berated Zayn for some time before Kevin Owens came out, and the long-rumored undisputed WWE Universal title match between himself and Reigns was confirmed for the Royal Rumble. Later in the show, Reigns and Zayn were backstage celebrating the Usos, who would retain their tag team titles against Drew McIntyre and Sheamus in the main event. After Sami knocked over Reigns' popcorn, the honorary Uso was quick to apologize, but Reigns came out with an apology of his own for how he had treated Zayn earlier in the show. It was interesting how Reigns was so quick to berate him, but he was also quick to apologize, something he hasn't done since turning heel in 2020. Reigns clearly sees Sami as valuable, especially as part of this feud with Owens, but this week served as a tease that the inevitable split is drawing near. Smackdown also saw Hit Row back on our screens and a dramatic change for the stable, who were rehired earlier this year. After Top Dolla's suicide dive incident, he and the group have been the source of jokes on WWE TV, but the roster won't be laughing anymore. Facing off in a Royal Rumble qualifier, Ricochet got the win over Top Dollar, and the Hit Row member feigned showing him respect. Instead of respect though, Hit Row ambushed Ricochet, leaving the former US champion laid out and turning heel in the process. The heel turn is a breath of fresh air for Hit Row, who has had no momentum since returning to SmackDown last year, and until this week, the biggest thing they had accomplished was Dolla's botched dive. Now WWE has something of a fresh start with Hit Row, but whether they will finally capitalize on the group's potential and ability, that remains to be seen. More from SmackDown as the show saw Scarlett make her TV in-ring debut for WWE, if you don't count her 2016 squash match loss to Nia Jax before she was hired. Together, the Smoke Show and her husband Karrion Kross defeated Madcap Moss and Emma, but you wouldn't know it from the ring announcer's comments. After the victory, Samantha Irvin declared that Kross had won the match, correct so far, but made no mention of Scarlett. On Twitter, fans reacted to the botch, with some finding it hilarious, and others more irritated that Scarlett didn't get any recognition. Other fans said how for her first official TV match, Scarlett had done very well, and were excited to see more of the Smoke Show in the ring. Post-match, Kross and Scarlett placed a Rey Mysterio mask on Madcap Moss, a clear continuation of their slow-burning feud with the former world champion, and we hope that the botch heard this week isn't repeated for Scarlett's next match. Earlier this week, William Regal officially returned to WWE after parting ways with AEW last month so he could spend more time with his son, NXT superstar Charlie Dempsey. Regal was released from WWE in January 2022 during the Vince McMahon era, and now that McMahon is back, there's been questions about the gentleman villain. During Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer said that Regal has been a talking point in WWE ever since news broke of McMahon's return. The Regal situation is something that everyone's been talking about. I don't know that if it will affect him. Right now, Levesque is still going to have that same power. Regal is said to be taking on a backstage role with WWE and will work closely with Triple H, and there are plans for him to make his return to TV next year. The British star can't appear on WWE TV in 2023 due to the conditions of his AEW departure, but with McMahon now working with WWE again, nothing is for certain at this time. When Mandy Rose was released from WWE, it was revealed that she has made far more money on her website than she ever did in the ring. The Toxic Attraction alum isn't alone in this feat, as CJ Perry, aka Lana, has said that she earned more in her first 6 months with her site than she did on her highest paid contract in WWE. If you've got the looks, making money online is certainly a possibility, but during an appearance on Booker T's Hall of Fame podcast, Ric Flair bashed the idea. He said, "It's absolute insanity. I mean, social media can make or break anybody, and they got kids now making millions of dollars that couldn't even walk in the goddamn ring with me and book. I swear to God, they couldn't wrestle 30 minutes if they had to, much less, do it every day. Does that make sense?" Flair isn't alone with this viewpoint, as Booker has warned Rose that her massive fortune made on her website may not last if she wants to live an expensive lifestyle. Ultimately, Mandy Rose, CJ Perry, and others earning online are free to spend their earnings as they please, but legends like Flair and Booker are far from pleased that wrestling in the ring is no longer the guaranteed top earner for professional wrestlers. Over to AEW now, and it was in October that Hangman Adam Page suffered a concussion during a World Championship match with Jon Moxley. That concussion forced AEW to end the match immediately and Page to miss months of action, but there's some great news from the Cowboy. On Rampage, Hangman cut a scathing promo on Jon Moxley and had his medical report in his hand, confirming that he has been cleared to compete. Page will waste no time in getting his revenge on Moxley, with the two scheduled to face off next week on Dynamite. Next week's Dynamite is a stacked show featuring the final match in the Elite and Death Triangle's Best of 7 series and Saraya's second match in AEW, and now Page is ready to get his revenge on Jon Moxley. This month, WWE will host their annual Royal Rumble, and there's been a lot of buzz about the men's Rumble match in particular. With rumors of The Rock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, many have predicted the Great One's return in the Rumble match and his second victory in the 30-man bout. Of course, WWE is not confirming any plans with The Rock publicly, as they want fans to be surprised, but the poster for the Rumble has had fans talking. This poster, released this week, shows plenty of names you'd expect, but there is also a ton of electricity in the air, which some have taken as a nod to the most electrifying man in sports and entertainment. Whether The Rock is returning at the Rumble or not, we cannot say for certain at this time, but do you think he should win the match, or should someone else earn a shot at the Tribal Chief? Let us know in the comments. For many fans, the appeal of AEW is that they are an alternative to WWE and do things differently to Stephanie McMahon's company. While WWE will very rarely allow blood, it seems a week can't go by for AEW without someone wearing the Crimson Mask, but this is a problem for one veteran employee. During a podcast appearance, Tony Schiavone discussed blading with Conrad Thompson and believes AEW goes too far at times. I've seen enough of it now, I'm on the different side of the camera now, to where I think sometimes it's too much. You see kids, I'll call them kids, who don't have the experience of blading themselves as they should, and sometimes it's too much blood because they don't know how to do it. Blood has always played a role in wrestling, and when done right can be an effective way of building up the story of a match, but AEW sometimes takes it way too far, at least according to Schiavone. And we're ending today with Ronda Rousey, who married her husband Travis Browne in 2017, 2 years after the couple started dating. Browne and Rousey have been together for years and welcomed their first daughter in September 2021, but there was once a man who caught the rowdy one's eye. In an interview with Karen Bryant's MMA Heat, Rousey recalled her first meeting with CM Punk and said she was starstruck to see him in 2014. I didn't have anything to say except for I think the first thing I said to him was, "I love you," which is terrible and not smooth. It's not smooth at all. It was mere months after Rousey met Punk that the former AEW World Champion tied the knot with AJ Lee, and with Punk and Rousey both happily married, everything ended up for the best for everyone involved. And we're ending today with more from Smackdown, as this week's action didn't stop with the main event. In the final match of the night, the Usos retained their undisputed WWE Tag Team titles against Drew McIntyre and Sheamus, but that was just the start of things for the European stars. After the show, Eric and Ivar hit the ring to lay out McIntyre and Sheamus, hitting 2 Ragnaroks, their version of the double powerbomb. Failing to capture the tag gold, it looks like the Viking Raiders are the next team for McIntyre and Sheamus, as the two friends and sometimes rivals will be remaining a unit for the time being.